Good day, people, and welcome to episode 4 of the streamerbot podcast. Today's guest is the wonderful VRFlad, which way I can point. Can never do the pointing on screen thing. These are broadcast live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Terry Darts if you want to join and get involved. Best way to know is to follow me on Twitter, because that's where I post all my updates. Anyway, Mr. VRFlad, how are we doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me along tonight.
Well, you was always going to be on eventually, but I'm looking forward to this one because I probably wouldn't have the knowledge I have now if it weren't for your assistance
Well, I'm
along the way.
glad to have helped.
And as you see, there are Flad's links if you don't know who Flad is. And we're still trying to prove that the VR in VRFlad stands for very rigged. We are pretty sure it does, but we haven't found the concrete proof yet.
Yeah, you need to do a bit more digging in the code for that.
But if you do have any questions for Flad along the way, do post me in chat and we will try to get round to them. But without further ado, we're going to crack on because I feel like this is going to be a long one because I think we've got a lot of subjects to cover. So,
Let's see.
as always, the first question, as you can see below, is how did your streaming journey first begin?
Well, I used to enjoy Twitch. Kind of started in early 2020. A thing called pandemic was happening. You might vaguely remember it. And I was watching a few streamers, primarily World of Warcraft, and got to know a bunch of people there. Um, I was always passionate about virtual reality, and I talked to some people about that. And I came with the idea of, okay, I'll show people VR, with no idea how easy or complicated it was going to be. I tried various methods on things like Skype or Discord, and it was just horrendous. And so, and then, well, like OBS is free, Twitch is free, we may as well just stream it. So I got things set up, and I started to stream VR content. Ostrogothia and Alanon were there, helping from before that all the way through. And yeah, so I did my first stream, after some test ones, and yeah, they pulled a load of people from the communities that I was in, and I was super fortunate to have amazing support from day one. People that really weren't watching Twitch for VR content at all, and yeah, so yeah, lovely people like Coffee Loving Gamer from the start as well, Ostrogoth here, Alanon, and a whole bunch of others. Yeah, just really great support. And I found actually VR, one of the things I didn't like about it so much was you didn't really have much interaction with people typically on the games I enjoy. So I found that I was able to get that interaction with people and to enjoy VR at the same time. And played various different games from Half-Life Alyx, and soon sort of got into rhythm games as something I really enjoyed, and actually found I could do a workout at the same time as streaming too. And I never really planned to keep streaming, but I kept enjoying it, so I just kept going. And it was one of those things that I was, really happy to enjoy that side of things. I'm always been passionate about pushing technology, and so I was trying to find different ways to improve the stream. I found ways to use Live, and I had an Xbox One connected as a camera at that point. So I had a green screenless green screen, which I was surprised actually how well it worked. But it also works with that. Um, yeah, and so that's kind of how I started. I started doing non-VR content when I was ill with not ill, but my knee was having some grief, so I shouldn't really be doing too much VR, and that's when I started to expand into different content from there.
It's cool. It's weird that you watch World of Warcraft, 'cause that's kind of something game I would never really associate you with. You know, because I see what games you do play. Because obviously you are a very varied streamer. You do the VR stuff. You do a lot of what VR streamers call pancake games,
Yep.
which I think is a glorious term. I mean, I think it's wonderful. I don't know why it fills me with so much joy, but it's just funny every time it's like pancake games. I mean, I like pancakes, so. And then you do obviously we do what we'll talk about the workshop stuff. So there is a real variety in what you stream. So
Yeah.
and it's nice that when no matter what you're streaming, you do see the same people in. You do see the Ostros, you do see the Fires, and you do see your community around you giving you that support, and it is really nice. And they're all so welcoming as well. You know,
Yeah.
anyone pops in, and all three of them will say hi to you, if not another 4 or 5 people as well.
Yep. Absolutely. And yeah, very fortunate to have amazing people around me. I share a Discord with a lot of people that are there a lot of the time, and so yeah, it's something which is very much about sort of supporting each other where possible and things like that. Yeah, it's it's really lovely to have that kind of support and to know that you always have people there. Every stream is something very, very fortunate to have. Even if it's one or two people talking, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, it really does. So so going on, you starting now going on. There must have been a time before streaming what you were streaming. So if you said 2020 you started streaming, there must have been a time.
That's right.
What was that like? What did you use?
So, um, with using the Xbox Connect as a camera, for certain games, I needed to run it through add-ons. So I was using Stream Elements originally, and I think I was using Triggerfire for sort of GIFs and sort of those kind of very, very basic alerts. Um, so I started in the 1st of Feb, is when my first stream was, and I found streamerbot, which would have been Channel Point's handler. It would have been in mid March, so not too long, thankfully, without it. I tried looking at various different options, and nothing was really that good. Um, and I stumbled across Lifesaver's stream, and yeah, then was I fortunate to find and get access to Channel Point handler at that point.
That's really cool. I think I would say I use Stream Elements because it did have all the extra widgets that were on there. It's one of the few ones that are online that have all these extra widgets. And I found using Triggerfy really handy using this. But then obviously I transitioned to the stream chatbot, that awful dirty word. And then obviously I moved to Leo on board, and then streamerbot. Because I knew I wanted that extra bit of control. Obviously, it never was part of it when it was channel point handler. But it's nice that you've been there and seen it grow to where it is now. Because I can imagine that first time you caught it, it was pretty nicely basic.
Yeah, it's always been quite functional in many ways, even before the C sharp was added in. Um, it was a lot less reliable as well as it is now. There's amazing stability improvements being put in over the time. Um, I think one of the earliest things I was really super proud of was the fake news, which is still the version of my stream I still need to update it at some point. And so for me, it's one of those things. It doesn't necessarily need um, massively more amounts of functionality to do some really impressive things with it. Of course, the functionality we've had since is just be able to help push the boundaries more and more. But even in early days, you could do a hell of a lot with it, and it's really quite impressive. And it was really something I felt like could really, really add a lot to my stream with interactivity and fun.
Yeah, I think I actually did see a version of the early one, and it did see that you could still do a lot of stuff with it. I think it still had a lot of the OBS stuff in it. The oldest version that I saw, and that without the C sharp, that's the bulk of it really to make your effects, make your a lot of it is the OBS stuff to change text
Yeah,
sources, trigger filters, all that. You don't really need the C sharp stuff. It's nice, but you don't really need it to
exactly.
do something really cool. Um, as big games say, when it updates, do you find it easier or harder to? Well, let's see. I'll read it properly. I'll read it properly, so try and reword it. Do you
Yeah.
find difficulty keeping up with version changes when providing content, or do you welcome the opportunity to use them for new content? No sooner have you released a video than Nate releases a new version of streamerbot, or OBS releases a new version.
So typically, like yourself, I've got access to early builds, so we can actually have a play around with it, look at the new functionality. Um, Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes actually the content I'm building will be better with a newer version. And there's been times when I've waited and saying, okay, you need this version of streamerbot. And the fast track was an example of that.
Yeah.
It was fast track needed a newer version um, of streamerbot to work, and that's why it has a sort of minimum version. So it's good. What I do like doing videos now, just giving you sort of highlights of what's in the new version of streamerbot and anything different with OBS. At that point, the focus is on streamerbot, but I'll generally give an update on OBS at the same time. They are actually probably the easiest videos I do because I'm not creating any code or anything like that to go with it. Um, but at this point, there's very little code changes that are required by upgrading your streamerbot. There were some changes required around the time of fast track, and Nate did everything he could to minimize those changes. But there were a few subtle ones in there. So it's not so much an opportunity for new content now. It's more a case of it's just I think a lot of people seem to come and ask in my stream, is it worth upgrading? And I like to give people a bit more details around what they get by doing that, and so they can make an educated choice.
Mm. One thing I would say is normally with upgrades, it never really breaks old content. I know OBS did, but that was something complete that was out of Nate's hands. That was just OBS updating. So,
Yep.
and he did everything he could, and there was only one sub action that broke, and that was the OBS raw one. So generally, updates can only improve on things we've previously built.
Yeah,
Like,
and you will find sometimes updates will have a bug in them, but the amount of testing that's been done by the alpha and beta testers typically gets the main bugs all ironed out. And you may find there's a small bug that will sneak through now and again, but typically that will get solved very soon afterwards if that's the case.
yeah, I think that's one of the latest changes was the fact that Twitch is now removing the slash commands. So Nate
Yep.
added the methods in there. So making
Yeah.
content to VIP people or time people out, you didn't have to do send message forward slash timeout anymore. You could just literally do CPH timeout. So
Yeah.
things like that make things easier, I would say.
Yes. Yeah.
So that kind of leads on to the next the part, and you've kind of talked about when you started getting Streambot. So you
That's
said
right.
you caught it from life. So how did you get in? How did that first interaction go? How did it start? How did you find life? Sort of is the question here.
I think I found it through VR streams. So I started doing my streams, and I wasn't really reaching out to the community as much. And I started to reach out to the community. Okay, what's out there? And I stumbled across a stream. He streams at a time of day which is really convenient for me to catch. And so that's how I was able to find that sort of community. And that community, the VR community, is incredibly supportive as well. So I've been very fortunate to have the original community I started streaming with, and then various people just found me, but also then the VR community were super supportive and generally are for anyone new there as well. So it's really lovely to see that support come in, and yeah, it was really really good fun. um, be able to do more things than just another GIF on a screen, something a bit different. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. You just being able to do things different, like getting the profile picture and stuff like that is it's just such a simple thing, but it adds so much content to and interaction and person. It's like you're walking, which we will probably talk about a few. I think you're walking. It puts an emote ray and it beams the person down, and that straight
Yeah.
away welcomes that person in. If that's a new person, think like, wow, that looks cool.
Yeah, you're celebrating each person that comes into your stream, and that is, each person that's viewing your channel is important, and to be able to show that to them in some way is really empowering.
So you sort of life said, oh well, why don't you try out this bot, and you sort of like caught into trying it out that way. Is that the sort of like the
So
story?
it used to be an area on Lifesavers Discord, and you'd have to ask to get permission to go to it. So it's like a closed beta almost. So it's something actually, oh, this looks really great. Can I get access to it, please? And yeah, and I got access, and as well to then download it, I started to, soon after start sharing my sort of a few of the things I'd done there and try to answer questions um, in that Discord area. And so, yeah, that was back in March. And so it's still some time away from when it went live in August.
Like 6 months, something like that, 5 6 months.
Yeah,
Because if I
yeah,
if I if I remember rightly, some of your first upload videos on YouTube are
yeah.
prior to that release. Are they not? Am I?
It's around the same time.
It's very
I think
close.
it's very close. It was something which I was interested in doing. I delivered training at work. I've done a few conferences, and so, but whilst there are complementary skills, it's still very different. Um, but I felt that I'd helped a lot of people already before that, and I thought, well, actually, if I can have videos which are the sort of the key things to me, like easy to follow, of not to try and take on too much in one video. So it's one specific purpose for that video typically, and then to make that accessible. That's something I felt that could be beneficial. So I'm not answering the same question over and over, but also people then can learn to do things themselves, and that for me is something I really am passionate about. If I can help someone put good stuff in their stream, that's even better. Um, if it's almost like teach a man to fish kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was really, they are really, and I still use them now. The fact that even your early ones, they were all about 2, 3, 4 minutes long. They're all really short, and they're all one topic. So you don't talk about updating and backup in one video. You've got an updating video and you've got a backup video, and the two
Yeah,
separate videos. So when someone says, "Well, I mean, they don't need to now," but it's like, "How do I update?" It was, "Here's a video. Here's Flad's video. It is the most easy to follow direct video. Here it is. Use it." Oh, I need to back up. How do I back up? Here you go. Back up. Here's how you back up. And I know I did a backup one recently just to
yeah,
sort of refresh because I think people the problem in the 90s possibly the problem with the older videos is people still look for that big disconnected to Twitch button like, oh,
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't, I
Things
can't use
come
that
out of
video.
date.
I can't use that video because it doesn't have a connected Twitch button. I'm like, yeah, but that Twitch has got nothing to do with updating or backing up. There's nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
And it's just that's the joys of support. Anyone who's in the Streambot Discord will know that they're the joys of support. We do get there's a lot of questions
you
for
do.
those people who are lucky enough to see the where I moan about people a lot because I'm I'm from Yorkshire, so I'm a moaner about everything. It's too hot, it's too cold, just who I am. So I moan about everything. But yeah, I mean that's what I mean. I've kind of lost my train of thought now by talking about the weather, but
So you're talking about the support and keep things simple, but things change, and
yeah, the
that's one
change.
of the difficulties of creating content for streamer bots. you'll find sometimes that the content will go out of date. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing with the updates. Things do get. So we do try to keep the wiki up to date. We do try to keep everything else up to date. And I was going to make a point then. Again, my brain's still thinking about the weather. It's all right. It's all right. This is what my streams are normally like. Like honestly, I'll be talking and then I'll say something and it'll be like completely digress. But yeah, I
Ooh,
fa
squirrel.
exactly. That's what it's like. Honestly, it's like someone's controlling me with like a switch, or someone's got like a stream deck. And it's like, yeah, well, let's erase his current thoughts. But yeah, I found your
There's a
videos.
sharp point redeem for
Yeah,
that.
I know.
Distract me.
But again, I found your videos really helpful at the start. Again, when you did your things, they were always quick, they were precise, and they weren't beating around the bush. So it helped massively when starting. And obviously, I would assume a lot of the stuff that you learn, you would have to learn yourself. So were you self-taught, or was in that forum was the a teaching each other sort of mentality, if you know what I mean?
Um, so I've been tinkering around with programs, code, and all sorts for many years. I'm very much curious about doing things. I'm not always the best at doing certain things, but I get a good grasp of a wide range of technologies, and that's sort of come from my jobs as well over the years. I've been with the current company for over 20 years, but I've worked for several other companies leading up to that, getting a wide range of background knowledge on both development but also sort of other IT support. And so I think that for me, and working with a wide range of technical skills, it really distills down to what's really important to put across. And that's why I try not to skip any steps. And that's kind of the feedback I've heard. It's like, I like how you go through even the boring steps.
Yeah,
You go through all the bits. And that's one of the things that I will always keep. I want to make my videos really accessible to everyone.
yeah, yeah, really good. I find when I do my videos that I can waffle a little bit, as you've seen in now. I can waffle. But obviously, I think one skill that you have, and this is a really good skill, is you know how to Google. And people underestimate this. Like, if you watch one of your streams, you know how to Google. If you say, right, I know what I need to find out. I know exactly what to ask Google to get the answer I want.
Yeah.
Because that's what I struggle with. If I want to move something in JavaScript, I struggle to think move in JavaScript, and you get all sorts of random answers. But you know exactly what you need to search, and I think that is a really really good skill.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of knowledge goes a long way now if you effectively search with it. It's about knowing enough about the language to be able to not enough to actually just go out there and code it, but enough to think, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Ooh, we have some raiders.
I know. Welcome in, Raiders.
Welcome in.
There is no alerts because we do put these on YouTube, but welcome in everybody. You're just in time for the next question, which is kind of covered. Um, so you said that you've done a lot of different jobs, and I assume that involved some form of coding. I would assume because you
Very
are
little,
really good at
actually.
coding.
So on the jobs I've done, I've been a developer for one. That was at a winter job, uh, helping out creating some database stuff, and it wasn't particularly complex. So I've done things in Access, so rather than actually even like a standard full relational database, but we're talking in the sort of the mid 90s at this point. So you it's just a case of I'm more of a IT support guy rather than a developer. The technologies I work with now are very much web-based technologies, which leads to a lot of my solutions being using web-based technologies because that's very much in my comfort zone. So I can read through code, I can debug code down to source code level if need be. And I deliver training on techniques and how to do that in a very advanced ways. But I'm not a good developer. I'm not the kind of person that would say, okay, this is how to precisely do it. And you might have a pro like KK that if she's watching my stream, she'll get super triggered because I'm doing things completely the wrong way. It's like, but you could do that in 3 lines. It's like, but it's fortunate the code I do isn't sort of mission critical, and it isn't that time sensitive where you're going to benefit from the extra efficiency.
I mean, KK does do that. Yeah, it's easy. Just do this. I'm like, how is that easy? How is that easy?
Exactly.
I mean,
But
anyone who
yeah,
didn't
often
know
look at these
KK,
streamers as
she's
well.
super smart. Super, super smart is KK.
Very much
And
so.
my go-to for advice now, even though she's like, well, just do this. Like, what the hell does that mean? Talk to me like I'm 5, please. Talk to me like I'm 5. Although, weirdly, when I do ask for help, and you'll know this, and I've said this to you before, is I've told you what I want to do, and then I'll say something like, just tell me what to Google.
Point in
Because
the right
it's,
direction. That's often what people
yeah,
want.
point me on, just do me on Google, point me in the right direction. Sometimes when I look at code, I don't see the bit I need to see. But sometimes
Yeah.
I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, but point me to Google. And that's how
Yeah.
I like to learn. But listen,
And yeah, and in my position at work, I help a lot of people in my team. That's my role. I can sometimes help customers directly, but I generally help people in my team help customers or work with the people that write the software. Now, I find that actually most time I'm helping people, I'm not going there with more complicated steps to do. It's often going back to the real basic troubleshooting methods of actually how can I break this down to be simpler rather than more complicated. And that's something that a lot of people really don't think. It's like, okay, just step back from the problem. Okay, if it's breaking somewhere, okay, is it actually getting halfway down your actions on streamerbot even understanding with logging how far something's going through streamerbot, you're most of the way there to understand what the problem is to fix.
yeah. I mean, I do that a lot with my codes. I'll put CPH login for a pass, and I put several places. So then I count the passes. I'm like, well, I put 6 passes. I know it's getting 6 down. I know all that's working. So it's down here somewhere. It's not working.
Yeah.
But
And if you're
what?
not using C sharp, it's even easier now. You just
Mm,
put verbose logging on. The new logging in streamerbot's latest version is absolutely amazing. You can see how long each action is taking, or sub action, should I say. And so you can really troubleshoot just by putting verbose logging on and just running the action and having a look. Yeah, there's a lot of steps which aren't really seen that make the newer versions of the bot so much better.
the genius that is Nate.
Absolutely.
Um, I mean, I've noticed that when I ask you for help as well, that I've noticed that when I first started asking for help, you give me really simply. But I've noticed now, like, you've been able to give me it in a way that, because you know my understanding's improved, that you give me a way that I will understand that's not as
Yeah,
broken down.
exactly.
But that only
It's,
really works if we know each other, because we've been, like I said, we've been knowing each other best part of a year,
yeah,
and we've learned how
but
good each
also
other is.
but also you're asking the question in a different way, showing that you have more understanding of what you're trying to get. And so it's both ways, and that's something you have to do if you're working with customers of different technical abilities. Sometimes you've got people that are absolutely more expert on a topic than you are, and it's really impressive. You can just okay, this is exactly what's happening. This is how we're going to take it forward, and they absolutely get it. And then sometimes you need to really pull it back to full on just basic manager speak. Um, so you're talking to your grandparent or something like that.
I mean, so just to like sum up what we did. you've learnt more coding by playing in the bot than you have from your previous, like, what your job experience is. The bot has give you that opportunity to learn, sort of thing, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's given me the opportunity to learn a lot more, particularly not a little bit in C sharp, more on the web code stuff, because more of my advanced redeems, like Champion of the Hill, for example, that is pretty heavy JavaScript based for doing the logic. There's actually the bot does very little. It enables the OBS source, and the JavaScript works with streamerbot to do lots of the to and fro. So yeah, certainly on that side of things, I've learned masses amounts from that.
And even the dance part that you've got, that's a lot. Like, because I was gonna, we've talked about me doing something similar in the sense of creating the source, sort of like similar,
Mm-hmm.
completely
Yeah,
different like topic, but
no, it's all good.
it's that was good JavaScript for me. I'm looking at thinking, I have no idea what's happening here. I'm really going, okay, okay, yeah, 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 no, no. I'm like, yeah, 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 no, no, and then I'm still stuck. But I always go back to it. I always go back, but you can see that where you started and that now what you're creating, that you think, just get off my website, get this and it's there done for you. It's really cool that you can do that with a bot. That
Yeah,
it's
and
it mind blows me.
another thing that's been such a success is the community and the amount of hard work that you've put in for the extensions wiki alone and others around you, of course. That's just really, really great that people are so passionate to share, give away their things for free to help spark creativity in others. And that's something I think a lot of people that are doing this have that passion, and it's really amazing to see that so many people have that passion and want to share.
Yeah. So speaking of creating things, let's talk about all the things you've created. We've already mentioned a few,
Do
but
you want to catch up with some questions? I see we've
uh,
missed a few questions in
did we
chat.
miss one? We
So
okay. I
you've
saw
got
that one.
two from Bit Gamey. I can
We'll
answer.
do it.
I can
Okay,
read out if you want.
go on. I'll let you do your nice little readout voice.
So first one that's I believe we're missing is what is my opinion of streamerbot decks? Are they only beneficial if you have mods or don't have a stream deck? Um, so I have a stream deck and a loop deck, and they're great bits of kit. There are quirks with them, but I love the tactile button, especially if I'm taking off my VR headset. I want to change scene. I want to be able to press a button that does that action. You can get a very similar experience on a phone or tablet device with the StreamerBot decks. But I think the StreamerBot decks, the real magic that really hasn't been unlocked yet, is to have options where you can maybe host a quiz and you can have a deck per quiz team where they can talk together off stream in their own Discord channel maybe, and then they can pick the answer. The leader hits a button and that locking in their answer. That is a great kind of quiz environment. You could do things that are actually outside of a mod scenario, but actually making the community really part of that. And you can spin up multiple copies of those decks quite easily. So
Yeah,
yeah, things like that. I think are the real magic of the decks that we haven't seen yet. But I think it's just a matter of time before we see that there.
and on the benefit, they're not just for mods. My last stream, actually, I built a deck of I think there's 15 sounds on there, and then I've tied it to a channel point ward saying that so people can buy access to that deck,
Ah, nice.
and then when I'm doing like a not podcast stream, they can get the deck and they can play the sounds, and
Yeah,
anyone can have access to that deck. They just have to save enough channel points and buy it, and they get access to the deck.
yeah,
And so it doesn't matter if they're mod or not, they can still have the deck. So if you wanted a deck of little quirky things, that maybe not as disruptive, if we call a sound disruptive, popping things on screen, changing colors of a, like say this white border, I could have some change color of that.
Yeah,
I could have a deck for that. So deck can do a lot of things. I
yeah,
think the one thing they're lacking is the two-way communication, so that things we can affect things on the deck from streamerbot. But
yeah,
generally, I think they're really good. I think if you can use them well enough, like with the quiz, and you can implement it, there's a
yeah.
lot of potential for them.
And that's the thing that's lacking also with the Stream Deck and the Loop Deck is that two-way communication really isn't there. And I've been trying to look into that on the Loop Deck side of things to say, okay, is there something that we can do from that side? And trying to get my head around what do we need from the Loop Deck side. And I know it's something that's on the radar for Nate to look into two-way communications. So you'd be able to do something on a deck and then that will then run an action and give the feedback to that deck button, or be it a streamerbot deck or stream deck or loop deck. I think that's also something which would be really better interactivity in ways to do things, especially if you have something like a loop deck or the new Elgato deck with the dials,
Yeah,
to be able to actually reflect the setting back onto the UI, so you can look down, twist it to the right value, you're happy. Um, and that's something that you don't have enough of. I think that two-way communication.
and I think now they're not just like local; they can be remote, shareable. It just
Yeah,
there's nothing else like. I can't think of nothing that's like that. You know, I know no one else can press a button on your stream deck because it's a no one can do it. You look, uh, even Sammy, I don't think their decks are shareable. They might have decks, but I don't think they're shareable. Could be
yeah,
wrong, but the shareability of the deck just means it's like anything else in streaming. But the only limitation is your imagination
yeah.
because you can do so much with them.
I mean, it then gets a complementary kind of behaviours to things like the heat map, which you've done some great work with. Something I've yet to actually get time to go and spend to actually look at it, because a heat map where you can actually have people interacting with places on your stream is opens up so many interactive options.
Yeah, the heat map is great. I mean, it's broken. I think the guy at the moment is fixing it because he wants to make it a little bit more robust.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is fun. It's been fun to work with, see map and build things for. Just
yeah,
each from them things.
yeah. There's so many more exciting creations that enabling more interactive and fun things, and it's down to your imagination and time at this point.
Yeah, because most things I would say are doable, but depending on how crazy you are. But yeah. So going on to the next one, what is the most important thing you'll learn from attending TwitchCon? Would you recommend Would you recommend it for all streamers or only larger streamers? Sorry, I missed the. I
That's
didn't
fine.
read the brackets.
That's cool. So the most important thing, don't push yourself when you have COVID or have post-COVID stuff. Had basically had long COVID, and yeah, I was quite run down. I took on the challenge of presenting at TwitchCon. So I represented streamerbot um, as part of the Creative Tools Showcase. That was relatively short, thankfully. That was a 4-minute session, just to highlight streamerbot, the kind of fun things you can do with it, showing off some cool things that have been created with it by various people in the community. Um, but for me personally, what I got out of it was the people, the networking, getting to meet other streamers and having those discussions. I didn't see many of the other sessions that were presented. I was busy a lot of the time preparing for my own. Um, so yeah, the I'd recommend it if you get to meet and connect with other streamers. You get diverse opinions. You get some people that like to talk about monetizing everything, or people that are really passionate about you know how can I make my stream more fun? And you kind of get some really interesting discussions, meet some really, really good people. Um, I've known people that have gone to TwitchCon, but never haven't actually um, paid for the tickets, haven't gone inside. But they've still connected. So I've met a few people from the VR community. Um, One day they didn't have tickets that day. We met, we had lunch, and we had a really good catch up with them. Um, and I know people in other communities that have met up as well in a similar way, and they've just been in the same area. So they've gone down to San Diego, and they've just got to meet each other.
Yeah, so those who didn't actually see Vlad at TwitchCon, which I think most of you probably did, but he did. Obviously, you did your first one, which were again you were like 4 or 5 minute, and you did, and there were people like sound alerts were there, I think, and
Yep.
I know one more that were there, but I can't think. But
Hype rate and
hype rate,
the other Pulsoid were there. Trigger Fire were there.
Trigger Fire, that's one I
There's a
was thinking
lot,
of.
yeah, a lot of the big. There's the GeoGuessr folks, but the one that ties into Stream.
And that first one, it would just like a snapshot
Mm-hmm.
of what streamerbot can do. So you
Yep.
had your fake news thing on there. You had, I
Yep.
think it's got what, Questron, is it pronounced
Yeah,
Questron?
that's right.
It will makes, if you've seen it in the Discord, it makes the craziest streamerbot alerts, and you're thinking, how do you have time to do that?
Yeah.
That would take me like 4 months to make something like what he makes, and then that's how crazy they are. And then you've got the guy, I can't remember his name, with the Bulbasaur.
Yeah, Stegosaurus. Yeah.
That was the house
So,
falling one, it's Steggy.
yeah.
And then you had, was it Dave Summit Lizard?
Dave Liquid Lizard. Yeah. So
He had
he's
the
done.
he had
He's
the
done some great
Bulbasaur,
stuff.
wasn't it? It was the
That's right.
Bulbasaur that were with Hype Dream, which were really cool. Again, it just shows how people's imagination
Yep.
can just be like be put onto a stream.
It shows how
And
you can use it in many different ways, and
it
that's
shows,
the thing. You got the rewind from Nutty, which is then enhanced a bit further by Marcus as well. So yeah, there's lots of different, very different experiences that you can have there.
and I can imagine that when you were planning this, because obviously we spoke about a little bit, and you said you think, there were probably a lot of things there that didn't actually make the cut. Like you said, oh, I'm gonna have to get rid of that. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. It's just I just can't put everything in.
Yeah,
And I
but
can
very
imagine,
few people actually got back to me as well. So I didn't really have to cut anyone. Some people were just like, "Oh yeah, there might be something in this video," and it's like, "Well, I'm not going to go scour
yeah,
a video and edit it all for you." So yeah, it was a case of trying to look at what we had time wise, which is about 2 minutes,
yeah.
and to pull out different options from there. But yeah, I was really pleased with the selection that came out, and it
You got
really
some really
showed
good
off.
stuff there. You did actually get
And
some really good stuff.
it was great to see the reaction of the audience when they realised the Bulbasaur was going down into the blades if the hype train didn't go up a level. And yeah, it was just brilliant. Just that moment of the audience, just like just like hang on a second, and then just the laugh there. It was just that was absolutely the best part of that presentation for me.
Yeah. So that then you did the one with Ghostly Tuna,
That's right.
and that one more on the side of coding, was it?
Yeah, it was tech nerds plus streamers equals better streams was the title, and basically saying if you can get input from tech nerds, directly or indirectly, then you can get more fun streams. Was the just sorry. So, Jesse Tuna is his income purely is from streams. So streaming himself, building tools which are sold on stores. For myself, it's a hobby. I'm very, very fortunate to have streaming as a hobby. Any money that I get gets reinvested into the stream, so I won't make any profit on it at all. And so, very different perspectives and experiences as a result of that. I'll give my things away to the community, but I generally won't make something custom for someone. I will make something which could be used by many people and make it available to everyone. But the custom stuff is generally a gift. to people that have supported me being good friends and things like that. So that's the kind of custom that custom stuff comes is a gift rather than yeah a job or second income as it were.
I think a bit like me, you add the level of customization into the thing you're building and say, you've got this level of customization. You want any more than that, then you've got to try to work it out for yourself, in a
Yeah,
sense, because you've had you like me and yourself, we do add a lot of customization in because it's built in stream, but because you can do so much, there's so much
yeah,
customization you can just build straight in that you don't need to be like when people ask for more, it's like, well, what more do you want? I think we've spoke about this privately, and I ranted. You said, for God's sake, it were 1 week. I think it was my lotto code, and there were one person moaning about it, thinking, how much more can I put in there that they want
yeah.
customizing? How much more?
It's taking it to a reasonable level of customization, and I've had people that have been complaining about rather than actually asking, can you add another language support into there, which I'm always happy to make sure things are localized. Um, but they just complained about it and said, well, look, I can change that. And then it's like, well, I don't want champion, I want king for some bizarre reason. So, well, I can make it custom. I can make it diva if you want. And so some of the customizations come from that. I generally, and fortunately, there were people that were asking for it in a polite way as well. And so when I get a few people from the community saying, look, can I customize this part of it? I'm more inclined to make the effort because I know multiple people are going to benefit. Um, but yeah, what that one person in particular was just very disrespectful. I put in specifically the examples on the translation to be very gender neutral because it came across as they didn't believe that a gender neutral term was actually the right way to have it, and so I was going to make a point there. um, but yeah, I'll make the customizations there. Where there's demand.
I mean, that's what you got to do because otherwise, if you built something and you'd be spending all the time doing the same project, and it'd be like, and you're like me, you probably got a long list of things. I think, oh, I think this is a good idea. I might build something like this. I might build something like that. I might, and it's just a long list of things that you've got to build. And building isn't in a 2 hour thing. It's sometimes
No,
for you, it's the same thing you can be doing 3 streams, and you're streaming 4 or 5 hours a stream.
yeah,
That's 15 hours you're putting into it, straight just
exactly.
streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, and it's when you're not streaming, you can get more done. What I try and show when I'm doing things on stream is the thought process, what I'm looking at, and trying to not skip any steps. It might be garbled mess of my thoughts at one point or another, but that's what I'm trying to share.
And is it, it's how people learn. It's how I've learned. Coming to your stream, watching you. It's being able to take the step by step thought process that you do. I always say to people when they're doing if they want to do C sharp, is they write it like a recipe. So they write everything in
Yeah,
plain English, and they don't. It doesn't matter if it don't make sense. If long as they understand what they're saying, that this is step one,
yeah,
this is step two, this is step three, and then slowly just convert each line to what would be C sharp, you'll eventually get what you need to do in C sharp. Even if off the bat you don't know what the C sharp is,
yeah,
because you broke it down into steps,
exactly.
you learn.
Write the comments first because a lot of people leave out the comments and code. But if you do the comments first, the comments are there, which you'll be thankful for if you ever need to go back to change the code because you'll understand what the thought process was. It's like, what was I thinking when I was actually wanting to write this bit? And so comments gives you that.
Definitely, because like I say, it's just the way your brain processes it is that methodology. So going back then to things you actually built,
Yeah.
because you've done a lot. Um, how do we want to do this? Because there's so many ways I could do this. I could just say, what's your favorite? I could get your top three. What's the most fun one you've worked on? So you tell me what you want to tell me about your projects.
Um. So I think some of the fun ones have been Champion the Hill talked about before. That's definitely up there. That started out as discussions for a birthday gift for Austria. and it was a pillow fight. So it started off as a pillow fight, and it's like, well, is it like a duel with two people and having them sort of two of these characters just like basically hitting pillows at each other until one person wins somehow? Um, and then we talked about, okay, I want to do something which was inclusive of everyone in the stream. So it's like, well, okay, how can we do this? And it's like, okay, then what we can do is have something behind there, so people can jump into this big fight out, and then people can be thrown out at one point, and then they'll be the winner. Um, because we could then look at that flow, it could be broken down quite easily, like you said in the comments. Okay, people are going to join. How do they join? Okay, they're going to go from one side or another. But you need to pick a random number. Say, okay, are they going from left or right? And then you can, okay, weapons. And got some input from Lithia as well, who did the artwork for the weapons. Um, and so we had a random weapon on there, and then it's okay. We move the people up and then jumping in, but also I'm going to move to this point, I'm going to move to this point, and then jump in. So breaking down the animation in that same approach um, is how that went across. So yeah, that was a fun one, and then obviously the plan was always to make a generic version again with artwork by Lithia, which is really great, and it's really nice to actually Lithia went and made the artwork on for an autumn, so it's like a sort of a autumnal theme with a sort of a pumpkin there and another kind of little touches to it. And hosting it on my website meant that that is something that people get just as a nice surprise. Oh, they load it up and it's just that different hill.
Yeah.
So that one is something which I just love to see. People always laugh about people winning, or
I mean,
they
because you
have
rig it,
theories that it's unfair,
it's
it's
rigged.
rigged.
It's
Yeah.
even it's in it even it calls something now, champion of the rigged hill or something like that.
Yeah, I think I've renamed mine because it can be customized. But even in other people's streams, it's sometimes like there's this person and that person. They always get it. How much did they pay you? And it's always the same code. Um,
It's hard coded for Flad to win. One of his little buddies.
but and that's why I made a little Easter egg. So if I ever do win, it will change my display picture from my one to be my face with hashtag big on the
Yeah.
forehead, um, and just full and embrace the fun of it. But that interactivity and that's that fun that people have in stream about it, it's like that's just amazing for me because it sparks interaction, it sparks fun. And yeah, whilst there might be people that disagree or want to win all the time, um, and people also having a lot of entertainment if they win more often than others, then yeah, that's all stream interaction. That's what streaming is all about, is making that a fun experience. So yeah, I would love to do more like that.
It's really good that the weapons are things like feather dusters, and I think there's a party popper if I remember rightly, and I can't remember some others,
Uh,
but
so we've got feather duster, we've got an iron, we have a plant, we have tips. Yes, of a generic non non-branded ones, of course. What else we got? Swords, flails, but yeah, all sorts of stuff in there.
they're really good. And
Pillow, of course.
it is fun. It's always funny. It's one of the first things I look to redeem. I think one of the few things because it's just like I'll redeem that. Or the table flip.
Yeah,
I mean, you've
yeah,
done a lot of visual, just funny. I don't want to say pointless, but
they are.
they're pointless. They're just like fun and pointless, and just having a laugh and doing what you want to do, streaming and enjoying yourself. Like the measuring
Yeah.
thing. Then measure yourself, measure the eggplant or
Yeah,
aubergine. Or I mean, I sent you my version of that, what I'd made for
uh,
someone.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Often you'll be inspired by ideas which aren't original, but they're taken to the next level. So, fake news is a good example of this. I was inspired by Lifesaver's fake news, fake magazine article. So where you get the picture, you get the relevant inputs to the channel point reward onto that magazine. And it's like, well, hang on a second, we've got text to speech, we can do video, we do overlays. Why not make a fake news? And that's exactly where it came from. So often the ideas are out there, and it's just about how um, to take it to the next level, almost. And that's actually how a lot of companies get successful products in the corporate world. It's a case of, there's web search before Google made it big, but how they did it was actually, let's take it to the next level. Same with Amazon. They've taken what they were doing at the time, sort of selling products to the next level. And so you can take that kind of inspiration and always keep your eyes open. And it isn't stealing, it's just a case of you inspired to get something new based on something which is well known and established.
Yeah. So apart from all the fun redeems, because you've got tons, if Nate said to you tomorrow something like, "Oh, what out of all the things you built, what would you like building into the bot? What would you choose?" Because you built some not like fun redeems, but you built some more serious things, if to say
Yep.
the word of it.
Yep. I mean, the great thing is a lot of those are being pulled in as releases come along, a lot more integrations. So I think some more charity integrations would be good. Um, and I think that's really good the way we can see those being pulled in. Um, my charity stuff is through channel point rewards. It's a relatively easy. I have limited time, so if it's just a case of channel point reward being created each month, and then we hit that, I donate to charity. Um, so very fortunate with the bots. I can do integrations like whenever people donate to that, it can update the stream title with a percentage. So we get a live percentage counter in the title. But I think more integrations from some of the charities that out there for people that do normal charity streams and make the effort to make a Just Giving page or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that would be really good to see more. But I know it's something that is being looked at already, but it's a case of prioritizing, and it's really really difficult job.
yeah,
Yeah, especially when you have things like talked before, like Twitch, you're changing what you can or can't do with streams, and often those have to be prioritized because there will be some things which will break in the future if you don't make those changes.
yeah. Oh yeah, I think Nate does a really good job, and I don't think a lot of people see it on keeping ahead of the curve. So he was well ahead of putting WebSocket 5 in. He was well
Yep,
ahead of what these now forward slash change that's coming in February. So like
yep,
so he keeps it, and then things do take priority over other things. So one thing for me, what you built that I would probably love spilling into is maybe a point system. I think if that were like pretty much built into the bot,
that would be good.
it would make things slightly more easy. But again, it goes down the list of priorities because it's not causing a problem at the moment. It's not, you know,
Yeah,
you built something that
the
works.
I think for me with this side of things is the points would be great for YouTube in particular, where you don't have the channel point system.
Yeah,
The problem is there's no easy way to reliably reward people like lurkers,
yeah,
and lurkers are super important in streams. So not be able to reward them for just hanging around in the stream watching is it kind of feels really wrong. I've been asked many times, like, okay, can we get the point system in YouTube? And I'm sure you've heard that question multiple times as well. And it's just not an easy solution. It would be great to have something in place that would work in that way, and I hope that Google allow that
yeah.
somehow to measure that, to reliably tie that, maybe an ID rather than a name. Um, but yeah.
I think the one version out there by I think it's Haunter. He's doing it from chat messages. So every time you chat, you get X amount of points. But again, if you're lurking, you're not chatting, are you? So
Yeah, you want to, you want everyone that's got that tab open with your stream on it rewarded for being there.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's the problem. The point system for Twitch has that, but I think until there's a good solution for YouTube, I think that would be really good to come, into the bot at the same time. So it's a case of this supports the platforms that you stream on. It doesn't matter if it's Twitch, it doesn't matter if it's YouTube. You'll get those points; they'll be integrated. Um, yeah,
I think if I say for me, it would always be one of the best things that I think I've built was the ability to for mods to add commands in the way as much as it is possible in streamerbot.
yeah,
And I would have said, oh, that'd be nice if it were built in. It'd be nice if it were built in. But then other day I changed my mind, and now I'm thinking Twitter because Twitter's changed the developer portal side, and
yeah,
it's something that's out of my control, and it's like I've no idea really how to give support on it. So if Streamerbot had that built-in intuition, that for me would be one thing
yeah,
I like. But other things you built that I think are really cool, which we'll move on, is your pronoun support. I think
yeah.
was that the one you that one was that an idea from Gauman that you worked on, or was that something you wrote?
It
Because you
was,
did
it
like
was.
two, didn't
So
you?
yeah, it started out with an idea from Gauman, just to basically put on just the pronoun itself.
Yeah.
So we can read in the pronoun, we can use it in stream. But it's like, well, hang on a second. If you want to really highlight people's pronouns and really embrace things, because a lot of people have to really fight really hard to be accepted for the pronouns that they decide. It really should be down to your choice. This is my pronouns. This is how I identify, and that should be it. But unfortunately, it's not as simple as that for a
Yeah.
lot of people. So it's like, okay, well, how can we do this? Um, and so we looked at, okay, what about customizing sentences depending on your pronoun to show that actually we're not just saying you want to be these pronouns, but we will respect that in the way that we'll give how we will talk to you in a sentence. We won't just do the lazy they them and keep that for everyone. We will actually customize the sentence, embracing what you identify as. So yeah, got some input from Slashy with some grammar, because my English grammar is nowhere near as good as it needed to be for that. And um, then Heikatu suggested customizable pronouns as well, which made the second version. So you can, even if, because the other thing I found through this journey is you might find people that don't fit the actual defined pronouns from the service, which is in most chats that people use. And as a result, they may not still be happy. And so we made it so we could fully customize absolutely everything, so people can decide how they're spoken to in streams. Unfortunately, it's not in a centrally managed way. It is very much on a stream by stream basis. But yeah, if it's one of the main ones which is in the add-on, it will pull on those and use the standards from there.
It is really nice seeing the shout outs when you say, go follow so and so, she was last seen playing, or he was last seen playing, she was last seen playing, they were last seen playing,
Yeah,
and whatever they choose. It is really nice to do that because it's like, as you said, people should just accept it. It's like,
yeah,
wouldn't you not? You'd accept it just as much. My name is, Bob or Dave. Just
yeah,
call me what I want to be called. For me, it baffles my mind. I don't see the logic in the fact that what you're right. You whatever you're trying to however you're trying to justify it. I know I don't want to name any names, but I know some people struggle because the voice don't match the chosen gender, and it's like, but why
yeah,
should that matter? Just call them what they want to be called.
yeah.
You know,
And it's unfortunate that not everyone's as accepting with that. Um, and it's really great. I mean, I was actually helping fix a hug command this morning um, for Australia that wanted to take it to look at the pronouns for certain parts from the redeemer and certain parts from the target. So it takes in both sets of pronouns, which actually is not as easy as it should be. And I think if I did the third iteration of the pronouns, I'd probably see if I get it to always pull in the target as well as the redeemer, if possible. Um, but it's great that the technology is there to enable that now. Yeah.
It is nice that streamerbot can do that. And just to flick onto the other one you did do with Garmin, that was the birthday one, wasn't it? The birthday shout out. Was that the other one you did with Garmin?
I might give them
The
some help, but I didn't create that one. I don't think. I think it's just a few pointers.
I say, and I remember that's probably the first thing I remember Garmin really building was
Yeah.
the birthday one. So going on to that, we'll talk about community extensions. So
Yes.
the community has made a vast amount of things. A lot can be found on the extension site.
Yep.
I think that's spelt wrong as well. No, it's not. I don't know. Might be.
It is. Yeah, it is typo in there, but
That's me. I am King Typo. But
it's,
there's a
it's
link
right
in
in
chat.
though. It's amazing.
It'll be right in chat. It'll be right on if you're watching on YouTube. It'll be right there. Just I put typos there just to keep people honest.
Yeah.
So, what is the things that you've seen being built? Because I've built a lot of things based off your things, on my point games, stuff like that. But what is the thing you've seen that goes, that is really, really good?
Yeah.
From the community.
So I think the thing I really like is when I go to a channel and the redeems fit that channel. Because sometimes people will just, oh, that looks great, and it doesn't really fit their personality. So the games are really great fun. Obviously, like the ones that you've built on top of the point system, but also there's ones there that aren't related to point system as well, which are super fun. Be it the Hangman or other stuff like that. They can be really good fun, or guessing games, or the acronyms or not acronyms, jumbling the letters around. I've been really impressed by Dave Liquid Lizards, the Pokemon related games he's done. So he can be like a raid boss, and they have to, the chat needs to spam the 1 point channel point rewards for different abilities to take down his health, and then they can capture him in a Pokeball. It's a really great combination of actions and visual responses to it as well. So that's really good examples. Some of the heat map stuff is really, really good and really good fun as well. Getting people actually interacting on streams. I think that's something that's Cult of the Lamb did really well, having the Twitch integration. And so, well, hang on a second. We can have an even richer experience if we make our own custom extensions for Twitch, so people can load in like the Cult of the Lamb, so they can have an even richer game experience. Nothing out there yet, but I think with heat map or potentially building on similar technologies to that, it's going to be really, really good stuff out there. So yeah, even just the heat map and there's interactions there. I think there's a lot to come from that. What other stuff in the community? I think a lot of the stuff I've seen in the extensions, is just really great ideas. And there's so much there, and you can't do it justice. That's the thing. There's just so many really fun redeems out there.
I think one of the good things that come recently, and I still think this should be built in the bot, is Libux's Spotify code.
Yes.
He's done a really good job on that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And
that's really good.
We spoke before about inputting in there a WebSocket message.
Yep.
Because I said, the widgets you created are great. They look great, but for me, they don't fit my style.
Yep.
So I said, what we would do with the future plan would be to have a page full of code pens or whatever, where it just gets that information from the WebSocket and it updates it on there. So people can say, well, I like that one instead. I like that one better. Yes. That's more me. That's more me. And it's you just add a browser source.
Yep.
Which again goes down to customization, but that were really good. That really good.
That was really good stuff there.
It really does point at that, like you said before, channel points not fitting. So it's really hard to make overlays for things. Just thinking, unless it's set to what it needs to be, like my first words Windows Live notification thing,
Yep.
That can't really change because it is where it is. There's no really
Yep.
customization. It is where it is. But a Spotify widget can change because obviously you want it to fit the style of your stream.
Yep.
And that's it. You do go into some streams and you see all these channel points, and it's like, oh, there's Andy Lippy's Polaroid, there's Flad's King of the Hill, there's that, and you're thinking, but it don't really match, and you get baffled like, well, why are they adding so many? That can't really be. For me, this is my first. That can't really be good for their interaction level because people aren't going to redeem things that aren't matching. It's like because it'd be if it don't like the Hangman, it suits
Yep.
Life's community really well because people like it.
Yep.
In other communities, it may not do. It's a big
Exactly.
pointless.
It's about
It'd be
finding what
pointless
works,
having it.
and sometimes it's the customizing from the initial redeem is what matters more than the actual redeem itself. Because sometimes what you can do with the template and take it further is so much better.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the community that they are built, and they are made customizable, so you can build them on. So now here we are. So I think we've covered a lot of these topics before
Yep.
in just but so going forward,
Yep.
where do you see the because we spoke about this privately. We said I wanted like a small thing and then a bigger thing sort of thing. So what would you like to see adding into the bot?
Mm.
What small change would you like we'll start with the small one first. What small thing would you like adding into the bot?
Um, so I think I would see the integrations into charity stuff as relatively small. I think that would not be a big change. So I think that would be good to add in. So that's the easy one. As for the big one, I would think it would be really good to have an easier way to integrate things from the extensions, Discord or something like that,
Yeah,
or a new tutorial, a way to pull from a library of redeems almost, and so people can pick and choose in a visual way. Make it sort of put some work on the UI side of things, so it makes it as makes it more accessible. Because
yeah,
a lot of people will pick mix it up because it's a friendlier interface for them, and if
yeah,
that's something that could be done, and that is a big change in my eyes because it takes a lot of work with UX changes, UX being user experience.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that would be the big change, which I think would benefit people. But they are often so much hard work. Even dark
yeah,
mode is something
yeah.
which people want, but it's super difficult to get in there.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, if I had to put a small one out, the one is the pick color sub action. I would love a random on there. There's no random, but with random you could do a few more bits. And again, that goes down to user friendliness, just making things just easier for the first person.
Yep.
And I think if I'm in a stream and someone says, "Oh yeah, look at TD, he knows a lot about streamerbot," and I think I want to stream the other day, and she wanted a death counter, and I said,
Yep.
"Mix it up is great," and it'll be probably worth it. I can give you a death, I can build you a really quick death counter. Not
Yep.
something as complicated as what you've built with your set game things and stuff like that. But I can build you and give you the input and we'll set it up.
Yep.
But I always say, in terms of user friendliness,
Yes.
mix up is always going to win at the moment, and that's not a bad thing on streamer, but or
No.
just picture stream, but it's just that's just what it isn't. And I like to be honest, I
Yep.
think I've spoken privately in the group about how can we make Streambot more approachable when you first open it.
Yep.
So I think the idea of blanket actions were put out there,
Yep.
and people said, no, we don't like that. We don't want people actually delete things. And again, it's a tough mix. It's not an
It
easy
is.
fix to make it.
And that's why I was inspired to do the fast track.
Yeah,
So I wanted it so people could follow a guide, friendly video, web page, and get the bot running and get enough redeems in there to get an idea of how the bot works and then to build on from that. and that's sort of the whole reason behind that, is to try and make that first experience a bit easier to grasp and to help people out. Because often when you're starting out with a bot, it's big and scary, and so if I could try and make that a bit easier of a flow, then that for me would be a win.
Yeah. And on the important, because I don't know if you've ever seen or used that naughty word chatbot. But you could import scripts in there, and it was just like
Yep,
I think it was Python. It was Python style. I would
yep,
something like that would be nice in streamerbot where you could just import a script and all the settings were there on a nice page and people could change the settings and all that. So
yep,
there won't be 6 different actions, 7 different actions in their action tab. It'd be in the script tab
yep,
and things like that, so that we could actually do a tiny bit more and make them more customizable.
yep.
Things
And
like
that
that.
can be done, but it needs a lot of work from
Yeah,
the add-on creator. Because with C Sharp, we can do things like pop up other windows, but there's no easy framework to do that. And I think that's something would be really beneficial is if we could have like a settings framework for you can have maybe a group of actions you pull in, which then has its own settings. That's the kind of thing it would be quite good to have.
yeah. I say I think one of the things where we use it like you do your clip shout out and you have to set the scene as a global variable
Yep,
or something it's something like that. But being
yep,
able to just put that into one place, say this is the scene and using all them action would make things slightly easier.
yep,
I think after then it'd be just seeing the current value of variables. I think that's very people ask for that a lot,
yep,
and I think even though I've got code that does it and it
yep,
pops up, I've literally rewrote Silverlink's argument viewer.
yep,
I rewrote that and I can pop up variables, I can pop up counts, I can pop up any information I want from that globals.dat file.
yep.
But again, it's not ideal. It's not
No,
because you don't want an
it's
external program reading the file, even though you're only reading it. And plus, the way streambot works,
yep,
that file is not up to date because it only updates when you save.
yes, exactly. And that's one of the things that there's you can do things in a good way, and that's what we should have available. And sometimes you have to take those steps to get the functionalities by taking that sort of less than perfect approach because you need to. It's not so it's out of laziness or not able to do it a certain way. It's just a case of limitations.
Yeah, I mean, I only built it because when you're testing, and you're thinking, what's the value of this global now? Why ain't it working? I need to see the value of this global
Yeah,
variable. And you're thinking, all right, let me go through all your files and all that.
yeah,
It's why I built a button now on my deck so I can view the log. I press a button,
yeah,
my log comes up. I mean, that would be handy.
yes,
Where you can change the setting of the level of your login. If underneath there was a button that said view log, pressing
yeah,
that, bringing up the log, it make it it make it a lot easier.
yes.
But they're the
Very
little
true.
changes that don't always take priority because there's always something else. And I don't want to
Yes,
like sound bad on it, but that's just the way of coding. A bug takes priority over
yep,
a quality of life fix.
exactly.
But I think the future's bright for streaming, but I think it's going to grow.
Oh, it is.
The extensions are going to grow. More integrations are going to come. You got to think of all the companies that have approached it saying, "Can we build into your bot?"
Yeah,
Voice mods, height rate, pulsoid. We had that Loot Devil. Obviously, they're gone now, but you can imagine just having so much integration saying, we can do
yeah,
all this. Ko-fi, Patreon. I can imagine they're quite difficult to integrate into other bots, but StreamerBot, it's now fairly
yeah.
easy.
It's very flexible in that sense. Yeah, and I think it's a case of it's. I think we need to keep sharing like we are doing the content because the more we share for the bots, the more valuable it becomes. Each video that you do, or some extension you put in the wiki, that's going to benefit multiple people.
Yeah,
It might not be today or tomorrow, but it's likely to benefit people. Even if it's like, oh, that's interesting. I'll do something similar. How did they do that? import the code, understand it. That's valuable in itself.
Yeah, and I think that's it. In that's also with the bot. My view on the bot has changed. I think as I've grown, before like oh coding and this and that, which I was like, okay, even though it can be coded, don't mean it shouldn't be added. I think I called all the
Yeah,
books out and some. I said, I know there's a workaround for it, but that's not the point. It's
yeah,
not. It's still worth adding. And so now I'm like, when I'm looking in in the extension ideas or the ideas page, I'm like, okay, well that could be done, but it's a good idea. I'll vote it. And I've
yeah,
started doing that now, trying to upvote more ideas because that's how you gauge. That's how I would assume that it works. Saying, okay, this idea is getting a few votes. Okay, let me have a look at it. Let me contemplate it. Let me prioritize it and rank it. I mean, I don't know how it works, but that's how I assume it works. But yeah, I think it's going to be good. You know, more things are going to build, more things going to integrate, and
yeah. I
I've stopped
mean,
thinking it as a coder's bot now as well. So it's like I've seen a few people do that. You know, when you help them on stream, when they help on Discord, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm live now. Can you go in the stream?" And they'll go, "Oh yeah, streamerbot is this coder's bot." I'm like, "Oh god, no, don't say that. It's a
yeah,
multi-purpose bot, multi-purpose because
exactly,
there's people that don't use it for streaming. There's people that
yeah,
use it for like presentations for work and
exactly,
stuff.
yeah. I've seen that
It's
used for conferences. Yeah, it's quite impressive because it's so flexible. You can take inputs and change it around. But yeah, it would be really interesting to see if we can get some more fun things out there. And yeah, it's something that can really push the boundaries with. And that's the kind of thing, they can get the attention. And if we keep putting things out there which break the boundaries, make for fun experiences, make for fun streams, people then will look at, okay, well, how can we push the boundaries further again? And that it'll often be to use something like streamerbot to do that.
definitely. So that should say wrap up there. That comes roughly to the end of well, end of my interrogation. If anyone else got any more questions for Vlad in the chat, feel free to ask them. But have you got any questions that you're gonna grill me about? You did pre-warn me that you had this interrogation for me. So
No interrogation. Um, what's what's the thing you're working on which you'd like to get out there? So it's all your big project, not in too much details, but what kind of thing are you wanting to do more of? That's
and
maybe
what
more technically challenging, but maybe a bit
at
more
the
fun.
moment, I'm trying to do more games that aren't using the channel point system. So
Yep,
like I did the Hangman. You
yep,
you might have seen the Cluedo game that on live stream.
yep.
I've recently done a Snakes and Ladders game,
That's good.
which I need to sort of work out some visuals for it 'cause it's really chat spammy. Oh my god, it's so chat spammy. It's not gonna work.
No,
But
and yeah, that's a difficult thing. Is could you do it with a deck to put people to put the guesses in?
yeah,
Those kind of things, and what can you do and how can you change that? Yeah,
but other than that, I'm rebuilding my OBS, so I'm gonna get
cool,
a new overlay. It's
excellent.
um I'm doing that in my Discord. I created a new Discord, and just because most of the time I'm sat on my PC, so I thought, well, I can create a Discord and I've got somewhere to sit and then just be in there. And
Yep,
that's just, and if I'm streaming, people can join in.
yep,
But other than
that's
that,
good.
I'm not really doing that. I'm working. I do a bit of work on the extension wiki, as you see. But that's, I mean, I like to take all the credit because I love credit. Like I will always take all the credit. But
Of course.
generally, most things I do, I run by Webmage and Galman. I say most. Some things I don't. I just do them.
Yeah,
But
but
generally,
often it's bouncing ideas off people will get the best results, and getting that feedback from someone or someone testing things is super important.
and then I'm in.
Exactly. Spixel's
And
got a very good point. You're often tirelessly helping others, Having to bite your tongue on many occasion in the streamerbot Discord when people aren't so appreciative of your efforts. Um, and so yeah, that's
You
something
mean
I see a lot of you
when
doing.
people steal my code and claim it as their own?
No comment.
Because mine's dirty and a mess. I'm just clear my throat there. But no, there are a few things. I want to get more videos out. I've updated my queue system that I built ages ago. I really updated that, and I really want to get that out again. I want to do a video for the live messenger thing. Um, there's just so many things I want to do that I half started, and at the
Yeah.
moment
Sounds familiar.
it's a learn at the moment it's a learning curve for me because it's just that I don't know how to do what I want to do yet,
Yeah.
and I think that's what stage I'm at the moment with building things. Generally, C sharp stuff
Yeah.
I'm okay with generally, and
Yeah.
like we said earlier, I normally know how to Google,
Of
so I
course.
can normally find the answer I want. But no, most of the time I'm just doing no because I'm lazy.
Well, we'll bang your head against something like it should be easier than this. But often that's the case. Yeah, sometimes things just aren't possible as well, but it takes an hour or two to realize that something that you'd like to do is just not technically possible. Interaction with certain games and things like that, it can be in theory, it can be okay, this might be doable, and then you look into it, it's like, no, unfortunately not, and you have to sort of move on.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't let's say we're talking individually. Me and Kat were talking for a long time, just back and forth idea about building with Valheim,
Yeah,
and it would just. I think it's possible. I'm pretty sure it's possible because it's a very heavily modded game.
yeah,
It's just not possible for me to do it.
yeah,
That's it. It's my learning ability isn't there yet.
yeah, but also the time. um yeah. It's about certain things can be done, but if it's game interaction, often you have anti-cheat stuff, and some games can be fiercely harsh about banning things like that, and you always have the responsibility not to put something out there which could basically get people to lose their game. um and that's the thing, it's a danger. I've seen a few things in there, and some they find it's not a problem, but some games are.
Yeah.
um
I imagine modding with Valheim would be like modding with like what Life would doing to do with 7 Days to Die. Possibly
yeah,
you could spawn things in because and I think there's things there that have been there before, but
yeah,
just not possible for me because
yeah,
fortunately,
yeah. It is, sometimes it just takes too much effort, and there's things that I would love to do if I had the time, but I wouldn't want to spend that time as a job doing it. For me, it's like trying to keep it as a hobby, and it needs to keep, things need to be fun. So it's like, well, actually, that's going to be too much, and it won't be fun. And you can step away from that as much as I'd love to do it.
yeah. Well, I think if unless you want anyone else got more questions or you've got more questions or whatever, we can start. We're probably wrapping up.
I think it's good to highlight one of the comments that became. You said, I love how responsive people are regarding streamerbot, whether it's the streamerbot Discord or personal service. Thanks to you both for that. And I think it goes to not just us two, but many other people in the community. So I think calling out thank you to all those people that make so much of their own personal time into helping others. That means so much, and that's really what makes a lot of streamerbot fantastic.
Yeah, there is a lot of work in the back end, and compared to other people, I do very little. Compared to some people, I do a slightly bit more. But again, it's time allowing.
Yeah.
I think if
Well,
everyone could, they'd sit all day giving support. But
and there's people that do thankless tasks. In some ways, they do so much work on the wiki. A bunch of people do work on the wiki,
yeah,
and that doesn't have who's done it so much in there. It's not so obvious to see, but they put that content there to make it easy there. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's normally a Whip and IK from what I know that do a lot on the wiki. and
Yeah.
they do a great job.
And yeah, Omni Dreamer does a bunch as well. There's so
Yeah,
many people, and we'll forget people if we start
yeah,
naming names.
yeah.
But it's a fantastic team of folk that put so much effort in.
Granted, I don't do much on the wiki, but I do the
Same.
extension wiki.
Exactly. You got to you got to do what you can with your time. You need to make sure you're doing it
I
and
don't
getting
want
that
Geo telling
reward
me
as
off for
well.
typos. That's why it is. It's I just don't want Geo shouting at me for my typos.
Yep.
It's alright. Nick can make typos because for the fun. He says they're for the fun. Like I put them in there for the fun. Let me show you see who's looking, who's really reading it.
Exactly. And each I think the last chat from Bit Game, you draw attention to things like tweets that I would otherwise miss. All the little parts that people do just add up to be much bigger than any individual part.
Yeah, the lot of it. It is a great team, and it's a great team to be a part of. It's a great team to it's just a great team. Everybody does their bit.
Yeah, and all the efforts are appreciated by the others as well. Everyone's really good like that. No one's trying to be better than the other person. Everyone's like saying, together this is really great what we're doing.
And it's always nice then to have a place where we can moan about people as well.
Absolutely, venting's good.
But yeah, people do underappreciate themselves, and I think I'm probably guilty of that at times. But
I think we all are.
I say we all are. But it's just what it is.
It is indeed.
Well, this has been really fun.
Yes, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate having some time to have a nice chat.
The next podcast is 2 weeks from now, I believe.
Excellent. And who's that going to be with?
Oh, that's a surprise.
Oh,
Do you not like the little teasers I do when I blur the image and?
Of course, I thought quite well to make you slip up.
So 30th. Yes, the 30th. So I've been doing them every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So the 30th is the next one, and then
Fantastic.
in December I'm going to do every week.
Oh, cool! Excellent.
So, and that's the plan.
Brilliant stuff.
But yes, so if you do ever want to watch these live on Twitch, you can do at Terry Darts. No, we'll get this right at twitch.tv/Terrier Darts. And if you want to keep up to date with them, follow me on Twitter. Links will all be below. But until next time, I will see you all later.